Let's read Matthew chapter 22, verses 34 through 39 on day 236. Starting in verse 34, it says, "Hearing that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, the Pharisees got together. One of them, an expert in the law, tested him with this question, 'Teacher, which is the greatest commandment in the law?' Jesus replied, 'Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself.'" Love your neighbor as yourself. Okay, so Jesus was being tested here. And he was being tested with a trick question by a religious expert. And yet Jesus' answer is very powerful and very direct. He didn't just give a command, but he gave one of the greatest commandments, which was a foundation that all of our faith rests upon, which is this. He said, "Love the Lord your God with all of your heart and all of your soul and all of your mind." And I want to break down each one of those words that he uses because each one of those words matter. The first one he says, "with all of your heart." So the heart in Scripture is about the core of who you are. Your heart is where your decisions and your passions flow from. Like that's where your desires live, is in the heart. And loving God with your heart, it means choosing him daily over your own emotions or your own comforts. It's saying, "God, I want you not to just be part of my life, but I want you to be the most central part of my life." The second one he says, "with all of your soul." And your soul is the most eternal part of you. So loving God with all of your soul means trusting him more than... It means trusting him with your purpose. It's about surrendering and saying, like, "God, my life is yours, and whatever you want to do with it and whatever you want from it is what I want. And wherever you lead is where I'm going to go." And lastly, he says, "with all of your mind." And I don't think God here is asking us to just shut our brains off, but he's asking us to engage our minds fully towards him, which that means feeding our minds with truths. I think it means fighting lies and temptations and the deceit with Scripture, fighting those lies with using Scripture. And it means refusing to dwell on our own fear or our own pride, but instead like renewing our minds daily by being in his word and being connected to him. And I just know from experiences, like, we can't love God deeply if we're filling our minds with everything but him. And then lastly, this is interesting, Jesus didn't just stop there, but he adds a second thing. He adds, "and the second is like it, which is to love your neighbor as yourself." And why is that? Because loving God, it's going to overflow into loving others. And I've said this before, but you can't truly love God while hating the people that he created. In loving your neighbor, it can be so simple. I don't think it means flying across the ocean. It can mean that and doing missions and all these awesome things, but it can just be simple things like sending a text to someone that is going through a tough time, just say, "I'm here for them," or letting someone merge in traffic when speeding up seems like a better option. You want to speed up in frustration because they're cutting you off. And that one can be tough for me because when I get cut off, sometimes the human side of me just wants to tap the rear end of the car and send them into a tailspin. But I think it's, again, loving can be simple. Loving your neighbor can be simple. And it's simple things that are done with great love that can truly change hearts. And that's what points people to Jesus. So the challenge in our lives are two things. One is to be intentional with truly loving God with everything that we have, our heart, soul, and mind. And two is to love everyone around us, to be present and intentional in the love that we have for other people. And if we can do those two things, that is the key, because if we do those two things, we are living out what Jesus said the greatest commandments are. And that's day 236.